It's Natasha here, former burned out SLP turned private practice consultant and strategist. I almost didn't make it today. It has been a jam-packed day, but I decided to do this later than I originally planned, just because I want to stay consistent because, I promised you one today, or at least this week. So we're back to the F.E.A.R Chronicles. I believe this is episode 4. I hope I'm keeping track correctly. So F.E.A.R is false evidence appearing real. So it's really a behind the scenes look. It's real, it's messy, but it's also a meaningful journey for myself, from private practice burnout to the breakthrough that I've had and all the stuff in between. But keeping some of it out because you get more of that inside my program. So today I want to talk about, so this has kind of been the ongoing journey. We started with kind of the prelude and then the startup, and then kind of left off last week with like when I realized I had to just tear everything down and start over again because nothing was working, right? And so I had made that decision, and I at that point in time I knew I had a lot of work to do, but I really didn't understand the transformation that was really required to do this. So I was all in, right? And so I thought I just needed a new schedule, a new set of systems, and maybe even a better EHR system. I was open to all of that. What I really didn't expect, though, was how deeply every part of my life needed to shift in order to make everything work. And that was from my mindset to my reactions to my boundaries to my beliefs, and even how I showed up for the people I love the most. It was all facets, all across the board. It wasn't just a business overhaul like I originally thought. It was a personal evolution. And as I zoomed out, to look at that big picture, I started analyzing just what systems weren't working and what were, and as well as where exactly these breakdowns were happening, and also what was constantly slowing everything down. And what I realized when I zoomed out is that all the roads led back to me. I was indeed the bottleneck. I was the bottleneck in my business. I was the bottleneck in my relationships. And I was also the bottleneck in my growth. It was humbling, yet really, really uncomfortable. And at the same point, it was also empowering. Because if I was the problem, then I could also be the solution. So I got to work. So I examined, kind of shifted the focus to myself rather than the systems. I was doing both, but I really had to look inward. And I examined things like how I handled stress, how I was communicating, how I reacted to my kids' meltdowns, to how I nurtured my relationships, and also how I operated my business every single day. And slowly, because this definitely wasn't an overnight sensation, I, started really making some shifts in all those areas when I really dialed in and took a hard look and really started putting the pieces together. So with that, I built new systems. That was both personally and professionally. Routines for myself, my family, as well as routines and systems for my business. I created space in my calendar. There wasn't space in there before. Things were overlapping. Things were all over the place. And I marketed. I launched a completely new marketing program and campaign, and I marketed with intention. I had clarity at that point. I led my contractors at the time with clarity, and I started to feel aligned again. And it felt really good. I implemented all of these things across the board over this period of time, both personally and professionally. And just when I felt like everything was working, life had different plans. And something happened that completely derailed what I thought my life and career were going to look like. At first, I was devastated. I poured my blood, sweat, and tears into my practice and building it from scratch, right? And but now, again, hindsight being 2020, I see that this detour wasn't a setback, but it was a redirection. A divine reroute that brought me here, to this moment, to this mission, to serving you. So if you're in the space of doing all of the right things but still feeling stuck, I want to ask you this question. And this is a question I had to ask myself. What if the bottleneck is me? And I don't say it in a self-critical way, but I say it in an empowering way, because when you see it, you can shift it. So you're not stuck. You're being invited to grow. And I'm here to help you do exactly that. So if this hits home, I'd love to support you further. You can DM me Audit for access to the practice breakthrough assessment. Or if you're really ready to stop spinning your wheels and start building a practice that works with you and not against you, then let's talk about joining my signature program, which is the Private Practice Burnout Solution. I know this was kind of quick and dirty, but I wanted to get this out today, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.